This man makes strange sounds and movements all the time, and doing that really complicates his life. Why does it happen, and what can be done about it? Watch this recap of Front of the Class to get your answers. Brad Cohen is the main character of this story. At first sight, he seems to be a normal boy who loves riding a bicycle, but other kids always ridicule and upset him. The thing is, this lad is not like his classmates. His hands, legs, and even his facial muscles often move involuntarily. Also, he makes strange sounds resembling either croaks or bird cries. At the age of 6, Brad was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. You can live with this condition, but others will always assume that you are crazy. Brad grows up. He starts driving a good car and listens to his favorite music. His condition, however, hasn't disappeared and is seriously complicating his life. For instance, one day a policeman stopped his car and assumed that this man was drunk. Brad tells the cop about his condition and confesses that he dreams of becoming a teacher. Brad is very determined. He goes for a job interview at a school in Atlanta. Brad admits honestly that he makes strange sounds all the time. However, he believes that it won't interfere with his job. The man returns home and complains to his friend Ron that no one needs a teacher who barks like a dog. Ron suggests that they walk to a nearby bar, but Brad is only interested in the job. From the film, we learn that Brad's parents divorced when he was still little. His relationship with his dad isn't great. The man considered his son to be excessively active and irresponsible. He didn't believe that Brad really couldn't control his tics. After the divorce, Brad and his younger brother Jeff stayed with their mom and would help her with her job, or rather give her a hard time. His mother would always take him to a different doctor, but with no avail. This is when Brad decided to take up a sport, because in baseball, no one cares about funny sounds and strange movements. He plays his first game successfully, but his father is still dissatisfied and scolds his son for not acting like a normal kid. This really upsets the boy. While sitting in a car, his father joyfully announces that he started a new relationship with a woman, Diane. But shortly thereafter, he picks a quarrel with Brad again because of his involuntary tics. The problem is that this drove crazy not only the boy's father but also all the teachers. The boy was constantly scolded and called a clown. Because of such behavior, Brad's mother was always summoned to school and always threatened that her son would be expelled. The boy felt happy only at home in the company of his younger brother. Brad's mother studied a lot of medicinal literature to understand how to help her child. And finally, Brad was given the correct diagnosis. Unfortunately though, there is no cure for Tourette syndrome. The boy's father finally realizes that his son doesn't make a pretense. However, he didn't believe that Brad could become a successful person. Only his mother never gave up on him. She took her son to a gathering of people with the same condition. There were people who had blinking, nose twitching, feet stamping, head shaking, shouting, and coughing tics. They were all lonely and didn't achieve anything in life. Brad really didn't want to be like them. This is why he soon left the gathering. But let's get back from the past to the present. Brad is invited to his first job interview. The head teacher, however, is interested neither in the good CV nor the degree issued by the best university in the country. He doesn't need such a strange teacher. Brad doesn't give up and goes for a second job interview. He gets turned down again. He tries a third time and he gets unlucky again. Brad complains to Ron that no one takes him seriously, and the letter invites him to go to a bar again. This time Brad agrees, and he even meets a nice girl with blondish hair. The date goes quite well despite his tics. The thing is, Brad has an excellent sense of humor and a sense of self-irony. At home, Brad receives a phone call from his father, and he invites Brad to come to his workplace and dine with him. Brad honestly admits that he got turned down as a teacher, and the man offers his son to work as a builder at his workplace. But our main character really doesn't want that. Brad remembers how his peers would constantly mock him and his teachers teachers would send him to the head teacher for misbehaving in secondary school. Fortunately, the head teacher realizes what the lad's problem is and even sends him to a music concert. After the concert, the man asks Brad to come on stage, and Brad manages to explain to the whole school what condition he has and why he behaves so strangely. His schoolmates supported him, and the boy could hardly hold back his tears of gratitude. This is when he decided to become a teacher. Grown-up Brad goes for another job interview. At first, everything goes well, but seeing Brad's condition, the head teacher immediately turns him down. The thing is that students would laugh at him. Upset, Brad takes back his CV and leaves the office. He is so nervous that he makes too many sounds, twitches, and starts crying and hitting things with his fists. In the evening, Brad calls his mom and complains that people are more concerned with his condition rather than his professional skills. The woman supports her son, and he decides to continue searching for a job. So, Brad visits all the schools and colleges and leaves his CV with them. But he really needs money, and he is forced to work as a builder at his father's workplace. One day, Brad's stepmother, Diane, pays him a visit. She tries to befriend him, but Brad realizes that she was likely sent by his father, and he grows very angry. Finally, Brad receives a phone call. He is invited for a job interview at a primary school in Atlanta. He is very determined, but at the same time extremely anxious. Brad meets the school principal and the principal's assistant. Right away, he is open about his Tourette syndrome, and these people react pretty normally to the new teacher's condition. The school principal promises to call back as soon as they reach a decision. Brad enters one of the classrooms and looks at colorful parrots in cages with curiosity. He repeats their sounds and they do his. Brad is invited to a meeting with a second-grade teacher. The man says he will teach the children not only math but also how to read and also how to be yourself. He will demonstrate with his own example that you can look strange, silly and even mad, but still be a good person. As usual, Brad's father doesn't believe in his son and thinks that he will work at his workplace all his life. Having been hurt, Brad immediately quits the job and gives his hard hat back to his father. At home, Brad goes too anxiously and almost nips himself while shaving. Ron says to his friend that he needs either a new doctor or a girlfriend. Brad grows even more angry at hearing these words. Brad waits for a call every day, but unfortunately the phone is silent. But Brad's younger brother Jeff comes to visit him and invites him to play golf. However, because Brad constantly makes strange sounds, he is asked to leave the playing field. Jeff feels so offended for him, but Brad is used to such treatment. And then, Brad does receive a call from the very primary school. He got the job. The principal's assistant shows Brad his new classroom and hands him a list of his students. Other teachers bring in various study supplies and help him decorate the classroom. Brad shares this news with his mom and she is insanely happy for her son. Brad meets a nice young girl Nancy on the internet. They go out on a date and everything goes really well. Seems like her new friend's condition doesn't put her off at all. They even like the same music. Brad tells Ron about his new girlfriend. He wants to invite her for a second date, but he fears rejection. This is when the young girl sends him a text herself. Here comes the first workday at Brad's new school. Brad decorates the classroom, puts on a tricone hat and even brings a cage with his rabbit. And here comes a class of second graders for their first lesson. Brad tells the students about his condition right away. They laugh, but still, they treat their new teacher quite well. A boy, Thomas, wants to go to the toilet, and when Brad explains to him that he first needs to ask for permission, the boy calls him a weirdo. After the lesson, the children thank the teacher. Brad notices a group of students picking on their classmate wearing glasses, and he immediately distracts the bullies. In his free time from work, Brad meets with Nancy. They ride bicycles, chase geese, talk about life, and grow to like each other more and more. At work, however, things aren't going great. The father of one student, Amanda, wants to have her transferred to another class because he thinks that Brad is a bad teacher. During a geography lesson, Brad teaches students the state names names in a fun game, and they get extremely excited. After the lesson, Brad learns that one of his students, little Heather, has cancer. The girl's mother asks the teacher to keep it a secret. Brad tells Nancy that he wants to get a master's degree. The problem is that he is asked to take the exam under general conditions, but he needs a separate room because he makes too many sounds. This is when Brad calls his father. His father solves the problem, threatening to take the matter to court, and Brad gets a separate exam room. He is too worried and makes too many mistakes. Preparations are underway for Thanksgiving at school. Brad gives little Heather his rabbit and notices Thomas, the school's hooligan, drawing on a school wall with a black marker pen. The teacher reprimands him, and at the same time he is trying to get him interested in books, and he manages to do that. At Thanksgiving, Brad and Nancy go to visit Brad's mother and his other relatives. This is a very warm and friendly gathering. There are lots of guests in their house, and Brad confesses that he loves Nancy. In the morning, Brad talks to his mom and tells her that he is very scared. This condition will last a lifetime, and Nancy may get fed up with such a strange man. Little Heather doesn't go to school. All her classmates draw pictures and write words of encouragement to her. Alas, soon we learn that the girl dies. Brad doesn't want to walk into the church in order not to interrupt the funeral ceremony. Heather's mother, however, insists on his coming in, and Brad does come to say goodbye to his student. Meanwhile, Brad continues to give lessons, and his students are madly ecstatic about him. It's hardly surprising, because Brad even asks his friend Maxine to drive her big red truck to school, and he lets all his students get inside it. Brad introduces Nancy to his father and stepmother. His father admits that he has always felt embarrassed about his son and has just begun to accept him for who he is. Moreover, his father delivers to his school a lot of bookshelves to support his son. Brad is announced as the teacher of the year. All his students are very happy for him. At the evening ceremony, he delivers his speech, and no one feels embarrassed by the strange sounds that he makes at times. Brad has proven by his example that nothing is impossible. And yes, this is a true story. Give this video a thumbs up if you also want to have the same strong motivation in your life. Subscribe to the channel in order not to miss any new recaps. I'll see you later, friends.